This is an RC Madness tutorial on how to change your stock main shaft to a full aluminium hop-up. And the benefits of this is that the stock one is plastic and it's flexible, so there's lots of power. But with the aluminium one, there's maximum power to the wheels.
So you're going to need to do this replacement screws that you can take the nuts off, and obviously your aluminium main shafts. Right, so what you're going to need to do at the start is remove the screws that are in the way. So these 4 here and the 4 in the back, to remove this whole piece so you can get to the rod. So now this should just come off easily. Make sure you disconnect the battery. Alright, so the next thing you would want to do is remove this cover here so you can get to the gears in the back. So all you have to do is remove these 4 screws. It'll be easier to just remove the battery, and then by just lifting up this cover, it should come right off. And if you can see here, you got the gears which is connected to the main shaft. So what you want to do is to slowly pull this out so the shaft comes off. So this is your main shaft. Put that aside. But you're going to want to put these rods in. So the smaller one goes in the front. Make sure you don't remove the car, because the gears inside will move. If your wheels spin or turn, the gear inside is going to move, and then it's going to be really hard to get this in. Alright, that should slide in, and to make it easier, just grab your rod, put it in there, and slide that in there. And you have to make sure that it goes all the way in the back. And starting in the, and to remove the back one, it's a bit more complicated, and you should notice how everything comes off. Move the rod back a bit, and then pull it out. And that's your gears. And make sure and be careful of this little rod in the middle there, because you really need that. Take that off to the side, and remember the order that you put this in. So just put that aside, pick up your middle one, and just put it straight back in. Now do not put this whole thing back on, because that will make it easier to put back onto the car. Again, just make sure you can see the washer. Alright, so this is possible to just slide it in, but for many it's going to be very hard, because the gear in there is going to be moving a lot, and it's going to be very hard to slide that straight into it. So another way of doing that is taking the back off, where you can get to the differential, because this is where it connects to. To get to the back, the easiest way to do it is to remove that screw and that screw, because it's pretty much what holds the back together. It'll be easy to put it sideways. Don't try to put it upside down. After removing these 2 bolts here, you're going to have to remove these 3, because that is what connects the 2 halves, which is in the middle where the differential is. And there's no need to remove these 3 bolts here, because that's not holding onto anything. That's just holding that to the actual car. And make sure when you take all the bolts out that you put them in order again, so you know how you put them back. After removing all the screws from the bottom, carefully remove the back. This is going to come off. And where you took this off, just push that from the sides, and that pops off. And be careful because all these falls apart. But it'll be easy getting back together. All you just have to do is put the dog bones back. Put that aside. And then, as you can see, that's a differential. Leave that back in here. And then looking into here, you're going to see that that little gear there is what you've been trying to put the thing into. So if you put that on the sides for a second, come back, get your aluminium rod, do what you've been trying to do by putting this in here. Then you have to make sure, if you come around to this side, that that plastic bit in there, the little plastic part here, is pushed up on the little rod that I'll tell you to be careful about, because that covers it and stops it from falling out. And if you push that in there, you'll see that came out the other side. Get the bearing out, put the bearing around it, just like that, and get your gear. And put that. That's going to be a bit hard, but just get the gear. Just fit that in there, like that, and it all should work. And putting this back together might be a bit hard. Get the dog bones in there. Alright, by putting this back together, everything should pretty much just slide in to pretty much where you took it out from. Make sure the suspension arms are in the holes properly, because that's what's gonna stop you. And then get in this part here. And make sure you get this part here. This is very important. This sits here, and that goes in the upper suspension arms. That's what holds them. And hold that together. Come back to the bottom. Make sure that's in. Then it goes back here. After you've put the back together and slid this in, and the front one, get your rod, slide it in the front first, pull the gear up a little, but again make sure that it does not slide out. And that goes back in. That's making that noise because the gear's coming off. But when you tighten, when you put the cap back on, that should stay in. So if you move it forward, that's nice as well. So putting everything back on together now, get your cover. This will be the first thing you should put back on. Obviously the screws. And again, remember exactly where you put all your screws, because they're all different sizes. And getting them wrong is going to be a pain in the ass. Get all the screws back on. Then just tighten them. After this is back on the cover, this is the last thing you're going to have to put on. And make sure these go into the right spots, because this holds the arms for the steering. And now, just to show you, I put all my screws in order. So this is the two that go in the front, these ones are the one after, and then so on. This just makes it so much easier to just put everything back together. Make sure they're tight, but do not over tighten it, because then that ruins the grooves where the screws get tightened. And then after you put all these screws back on, you're pretty much done. After connecting that, obviously connect your batteries, put it back on. This is another really good upgrade. This is a heat sink. You can find these in plastic as well, but it's better to get in aluminium. This is for longer play. Because if the battery starts to get hot, it starts losing time, like it will run out faster. That's a better upgrade. Just to show you what we've done. This is aluminium rod, which will give you more power compared to the flexible plastic one, which bends and twists, which loses the power. And that is pretty much all. Thank you for watching, and we'll have more videos up soon.